I've heard that Bitcoin is a hedge like gold could
Right.
be. Is that good advice? Should investors get involved in putting some risk into Bitcoin?
So Bitcoin doesn't have thousands of years of history. It has like, I don't know, a dozen years or something like that. It is wildly speculative. A lot of the interactions are illicit. And as I'm kind of leading you, I'm not a huge fan of it. I think it's mostly speculative. That being said, for an investor who wants to have a hedge, I think there are some legitimate arguments to having a small position in Bitcoin. It clearly has shown it has the ability to be a valuable hedge in times of uncertainty, but it's not really time tested. And I still, at a very basic level, I struggle to understand how governments are going to allow a parallel system to develop that isn't heavily regulated. So we're kind of moving down that path a little bit here in the US, while still opening up Bitcoin in some ways, including having ETFs, which are in the short term have been helpful. I think it's a speculative, it's not a bold statement, it is a speculative investment. If someone wants to have a little bit on the side, I think there's a case for doing that. Would I put a significant amount of Bitcoin or of my assets into Bitcoin? No, but I would have told you that a while ago, and would have been wrong with it trading close to $70,000 today.
I've struggled to understand what Bitcoin is. When I first heard about it, it was like, oh, it's a new version of money.
Right.
But now it's kind of being folded into the traditional monetary system we have, where it's like you can buy an ETF of Bitcoin, and so it's like we're talking about dollars and cents here.
Yeah.
And so, what do you think the future of Bitcoin is? 5-10 years down the road, is it just a part of our regular financial system, or does it take over as its own thing?
I still think it's going to be sort of off to the side. I think it's going to be kind of off to the side from a transactions perspective. So as you said, there's some, call it normalization of Bitcoin, but you still can't do a whole lot with it. There are a few retailers or different businesses that will accept it, but not very many. And there's still a lot of illicit activity that goes on around Bitcoin. And I think that comes back to what I was saying earlier, which is at some point, I think governments, and it's not just Bitcoin, it's other cryptocurrencies as well. At some point, I think governments are really going to want to make sure that they understand, that everything is easily traceable, easily trackable, easily taxable if need be, that people aren't, avoiding taxes. And there are ways that can be done. The blockchain can be very effective in terms of tracking down some things, but we're not quite there yet. So I think it's still going to, I don't think it's really going to be mainstream. What could be mainstream, not in 3 or 5 years, but maybe in 15 or 20, is that we could certainly have digital currencies. The days of dollar bills could be numbered and, or at least, minimized significantly. We could easily have digital transactions, but I think they would be central bank sponsored and basically part of the official system.
Well, that's really interesting. Thank you, Doug.
Okay, it's great to be with you.
Thanks for watching, and check out more at qz.com.